How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So today I decided that it's probably about time for me to put a little bit of something together to talk to you guys about some of the add-ons that I personally use and maybe why you should be using them. I get many questions nearly every single day on the stream of like, oh, what WeakAuras is that? What add-on's that? Please excuse the ka-chings in the background. You know, Goblin stuff. Always be selling. But I get questioned very frequently on what the add-ons are that I use, and I thought I'll use this video today as a sort of I'll point people to this as an explanation of what they are. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into any one specific. This is more about bringing awareness to some of the add-ons, what they do, and why you might be interested in them. If you are super interested and want more details about any of the add-ons I talk about today, use the comment section down below, or jump in the Discord and ask, one of the two, whichever you prefer. If you see somebody else has already said, what's this, then maybe upvote that comment or whatever the case may be. I do already suspect that there'll be a couple that people will quiz in more detail, but let me know. So I guess the easy thing to do to begin with is to actually just have a look at my add-on list. This will make sure that I don't miss anything that's not super obvious at face value, and I can at least give a rough overview to what each one is. So starting from the top, All the Things. All the Things is one of my favorite add-ons and also one of my most hated add-ons. This is the absolute biggest time sink. It's what you can see just above my camera here. By the name, it tracks all the things. Any zone you go to in the game, it will show you exactly everything that can be collected in that zone. To pets, to mounts, to transmog appearances, any quests that you are still needing to complete. There's any bits of gear you can buy off vendor. Literally everything you can possibly imagine in the game that can be collected is tracked by this little add-on. And that is remarkably both powerful if you are into collecting or if you want to like complete your transmog appearances. But be aware, it will absorb your life very quickly. All of your spare time will be running around collecting things you don't own. Auctionator is one that any goblin out there is probably very aware of. This is a auction house add-on. This is going to give you a slightly different interface than the default. It will give you a few extra tabs at the bottom of your auction house for shopping, for selling, for cancelling, and then there's the Auctionator options itself. Some people can more than live with just the regular auction house. I don't particularly use the shopping, selling, and cancelling aspect of this all too much. The reason I actually, at the moment, are using Auctionator is for when I do some crafting. When you are crafting something, if you have the auction house open at the same time, just for an example, if we go to try and craft something, Auctionator is what gives me this button here. It gives me the ability to search for these materials. It's also what's telling me the estimated crafting costs. So if I hit this, then it does a search within Auctionator and it showcases the materials that go into making this, so you can quickly get up-to-date information on how things cost. That's the main reason I'm using Auctionator. This on the side as well, by the way, is part of All the Things once again, showing me which recipes I do and don't have. So Auctionator is very powerful for that. Some people use it for a lot more, but I use it only for very small amounts of stuff. I prefer to just use the default auction house, or if I'm posting a lot of stuff, I'll have a TSM setup that we'll talk about in a little minute. BtWQuests, then moving on. This is just because on my main character, at the beginning of the expansion especially, I just wanted to make sure that I had done every single quest. The rep grind was a real thing, and one of the easiest ways to make sure you were keeping up with the rep grind at the beginning of the expansion was to just make sure you were doing every quest, as the quests themselves would often offer 100, 200 reputation or whatever the case may be. BtWQuests and BtWQuests Dragonflight. There are separate modules for separate expansions for this, so all of your maps don't get spammed. But the TLDR for this is it puts little icons on your minimap for quests that you could go and do something with. You could go and get. You see, I haven't picked up my Revival Catalyst quest this week. it's showing that on the map. If we, I have completed most of the quests, so this is maybe not the best character to show it on. There's a quest here to tame a Thunderspine that I haven't done on this character. It's showing me to go down to the Tuskar village to do a quest down there. It's just very handy for tracking and seeing exactly what you may still want to do and see if there's a reward or something in it that you're after or would benefit you. Next on the list then, one called Can I Mog It? This goes quite well with all the things if you are a bit of a collector. Can I Mog It is simply to keep track of the appearances that you either have or do not have. If I open my bags right now, these little ticks on the icons, it can either be a tick, it can be a star like you see on this one. A star indicates that it's a transmog appearance that I don't have. But I, on this character, can't learn it. As you can see, it's a shield that I can't use, so I'd need to send that to a shield-wearing class. They could then learn the appearance, and it would go into your transmog collection. There's a tick, there's a cross, and there's a star. It also turns up in a few other places. If you open your crafting window, for example, it will show in your crafting window any appearances that you may have learnt or may have not learnt. Once again, it's a collector's thing. It's for those who try and get all of their transmog available. Can I Mog It is a cool little add-on for that. It does, once again, I don't use most of these add-ons to their fullest. It does do some other funky stuff, but, you know, that's the basics of it. Classic numbers is just a simple UI overhaul for when you're doing DPS. It splurges your screen with big numbers, kind of classic-esque. It's just for those who really like to see big explosions of numbers when they pop their cooldowns or when they get a massive crit. You know, it's just a feel good add-on. Doesn't really do a lot though. Craft Sim. Craft Sim is a big one. This is one that I suspect people probably want me to do a deep dive video on at some point. Craft Sim is remarkably powerful now. The author of this add-on has been working incredibly hard since the beginning of Dragonflight. This is a brand new add-on for Dragonflight, by the way. And considering we're only a couple of months in, it has been developed incredibly well. Excuse me as my phone goes off. Craft Sim, to showcase it ever so quickly, is what you see here. This at the top here, Craft Sim 7.4.1, this is the options for it. It puts this box down here, showing me potential profits, for example. There's loads of stuff this can do, and it's super helpful for anybody that does any sort of crafting. At any point for any recipe, I could say, right, okay, what is the profit potential on this? And it bases it on your stats as a crafter. It can track results. If you craft a whole bunch of stuff, some people will have seen me doing this frequently with prospecting. It's really good for keeping track of whether what you're prospecting is actually making you a profit or not. It does sort of calculations for the expected profits. It shows what your actual profits potentially could be. Now, obviously, profit is still on the assumption that you sell it for market price. You can customize this a little bit as well, but it's kind of very handy. There's a bunch of little modules for this. It can even tell you what is the best setup of gear. If you have multiple tools, for example, it can suggest which tool you should be using to maximize the profit. If there is any profit, as most of us will know at the moment, crafting is super competitive. And it's, you know, it's kind of one of those situations where you do need to feel as if you're min-maxing everything to squeeze that profit out. And if you're just playing the crafting game relatively casually right now, it's a tough cookie to break into. But there's a bunch of things that can be done with Craft Sim. They do go into quite a lot of detail, and even putting the warning that there's lots of maths ahead. But there is some little explanations of how it's doing what it's doing behind the scenes. My recommendation for Craft Sim more than anything else, though, is make sure you understand how the system works to begin with. You want to know that, okay, if you've got 19% resourcefulness, what is that likely to do? How many materials is that likely to actually save you? If you have a 15% multi-craft, how many extra items should you realistically expect? And I'm a big advocate for learning how a system works manually and then looking to use add-ons to just speed it up once you know how everything works. Craft Sim can do that very well for you. What else have we got on the list then? Let's move on. DeModal. DeModal is just a handy little one. It just makes it so that you can have multiple windows up at the same time. And more importantly, you can freely move them. This becomes very handy for anybody who wants to both have the auction house open and a crafting window open. As you may have seen, that the windows are, especially the crafting window nowadays, is pretty big. Especially if you have, extra modules through Craft Sim open, you've got your bags open, all of this, you can easily move things about. They all stack on top of each other, and they, the one you highlight snaps to the front of the screen. DeModal is what is allowing you to move these. Super handy add-on, very small little thing, but an absolute godsend in Dragonflight just because of the size of all of the UI windows. Details, damage meter is this down here, just tracking your DPS. There's various different versions of damage meters, but I'm quite sure most of you know what details is at this point. I won't actually highlight any add-on right now that I don't have switched on, unless it's really crucial for gold making, because I have lots of add-ons that I have on other characters for other very small niche reasons. But what I will just highlight for a minute is FarmHud. Both FarmHud and Gathermate, if you are out there doing any form of gathering, Gathermate is a tracking of node. It tracks the nodes and puts them on your minimap. So Gathermate, over time, as you go out and you do more herbalism and you do more mining, you'll start to get more and more dots on your map for all the different herbs. Makes it much easier for you to long-term sort of try and build those routes and work out, right, if I need some of these herbs, oh, okay, I can just look at my minimap, and Gathermate has tracked them all. FarmHud changes your UI, it changes your minimap, it turns it into a big minimap in the center of your screen and puts sort of semi-transparent nodes on your screen. If you're into farming in any way, shape or form, farming for materials, it's a good add-on to use, but not one that I personally use as I focus most of my time on crafting. Moving on then, I have HandyNotes. HandyNotes is become very popular over the last couple expansions, and I have the Dragonflight module installed for this as well. HandyNotes is what is putting some of these icons on the map, some of the icons for the treasures that have been found. I have a couple of add-ons that do this, so my minimap does look a bit spammerific. You can tone it down as well, and there is some options up here for HandyNotes for it to show some things and not other things. Some things it can track on your map, handy things, disturb dirt piles. Any of you out there farming dirt piles for the purpose of trying to find as many dragon shards as possible, or just you're still trying to level up the dragon scale expedition, you can show those on your minimap or not. I turn most of the tracking through this off, if I'm honest, but that's because I'm actually using a combination of a few add-ons to achieve this, but it's nicely customizable and it's good. And you can put your own things on the map as well. If you want to track something, you can do. What else have we got? Hekili. Hekili is this little rotation helper in the middle. Got nothing to do with gold making whatsoever. I don't particularly need it on the classes I play frequently, but it does mean I can sort of AFK play the game without even really thinking about it. You just press the button that it shows you to press, and you'll do reasonable damage. You'll never be topping the charts. It's never super duper optimal, but it's easy mode, right? It's handy for if you're playing on a class that you don't play all that often, and it helps you at least do slightly better DPS than just trash tier. Use it if you wish. You can do some clever things. You can plug in you can plug in Simcraft and stuff to this. You can sim your gear and it'll change the rotation. If you want to go deep into it, it can do some very clever things. I just turn it on and occasionally press the button it tells me to press if I think it's worthwhile. MinimapButtonBag-Reborn. This is an odd little one, but it's an absolute godsend for me. If you do install a lot of add-ons, it is often a case that your minimap gets completely spammed with like hundreds of little icons and stuff. MinimapButtonBag-Reborn basically allows you to have one button that you can then press. And hey presto, there is all of the add-ons and all of the icons that would normally be flooding your screen and be flooding your minimap, but it just puts them all into a big folder. That's practically all it does, but it's kind of, you know, keeps things a little bit cleaner and tidier. What else we got on here? Is there any here that we should probably showcase that I'm not particularly using right now? Not particularly. Postal is just a mailbox add-on for slightly quicker looting of mails. If you are selling lots of stuff or you have lots of stuff expiring from the auction house, getting your hands on it faster is crucial. This is also good if you're sending things to alts. Postal has some cool features for that. RareScanner, this is a cool one. This is quite topical at the moment, simply because people are out there hunting rares. Either they're killing the rares because of the cool things that the rares drop. The rares themselves, in many cases, have pets. They have reasonably high item level bits of gear, assuming you're not out in Mythic Plus or Raid World. If you're just a casual Andy, then you can probably still get some good bits of gear from a lot of the rares. Finding them is crucial. For us gold makers out there, it's wise to kill as many rares as you possibly can, for the fact that most rares do have the chance to drop a dragon shard. A dragon shard, of course, gives you 1 knowledge point, and it also gives you 50 artisan's metal. Very helpful. RareScanner just pops up an alert when it finds one. It also does some tracking on your minimap as well, similar to the HandyNotes add-on as well. RareScanner is actually used in conjunction. I use this alongside another add-on called SilverDragon. They practically do the same thing, but they both have some slightly different customization, which is why I have them both switched on at the moment. RareScanner, I find, is good for tracking things like the treasures, the dirt farms, the dirt piles, I should say. It also tracks the Tuskar chests, but luckily there is an option to switch off the tracking of the Tuskar chests if if you're not bothered in picking up any fish, but that's a personal preference. But SilverDragon and RareScanner work to give you a pop-up on screen when there's a rare you should be going and killing. Routes and routes import-export is one that's become almost mandatory for many people. Same again if you're out doing any farming. Goes very well with FarmHud. It goes very well with what were the other two I said earlier? It goes very well with FarmHud, and it goes very well with Gathermate if you are doing any herbalism and mining. Routes is what is actually putting this line on these lines on my minimap. These are routes that I follow. You do have to, the add-on doesn't just magically create these routes. You do have to either build them yourselves. You can edit a route and you can just pinpoint where you want it to go, and then it sticks on your minimap. Or you can import your favorite routes from your favorite content creators or friends or guild mates or whatever. I have a couple. This pink one is actually the lap I tend to take when I'm hunting dirt piles on my characters. There's a little red one here, which was a little, I think this was a tiny little mining route that I was testing. It turned out to not really be all that great, but yeah, you can path it out, and it just means that herbalism and mining is that little bit easier. SilverDragon we've talked about. Let's take a little bit of a look at the last few. Let's try and fire through these because I don't want this video to be too long. TomTom is this little arrow up here. It's no, actually, that's a lie. That's the Zygor add-on. We'll talk about Zygor in a minute. TomTom is just a direction thing. It provides you with, on your minimap, it's going to give you coordinates. You can press somewhere on the minimap and it'll give you an arrow to get to that place. It's just a satellite navigation system for in-game. WeakAuras is a big one. I'll talk about WeakAuras in a second because that is what most of this is on the side here, and this down the bottom. These are all WeakAuras. WeakAuras is probably one of the biggest and most well-known add-ons out there now. There's a few modules. I'll actually leave some links down below in the description actually for some of the WeakAuras that I use. But yeah, WeakAuras, get it, use it. Most people probably already do. World Quest Tracker. World Quest Tracker is what's changing the icon of my world quests, giving you a very quick glance, telling you exactly what they are. There's a little bit more customization you can do with your world quests. Now in the game, they did add the ability to track specific faction world quests. The world quest tracker just presents you with a little bit more information to make it easier to see. What else we got? We're getting to the end of this now. WoWhead Looter. This is just a little module that runs in the background. All it does is it tracks the things that you loot and then uploads them to the WoWhead website. This is how WoWhead builds its databases. So the more you play, the more times you kill a thing, it tracks all of that and it sends the information to the WoWhead, and that's what populates the things like the loot tables on the WoWhead website. Worth picking up if you play the game a reasonable amount and you want to help the community a little bit as well. WorthIt is a little add-on made by another fellow content creator on YouTube. WorthIt is good to use along with your farming add-ons. So like your roots add-on and your Gathermate and your FarmHud add-ons if you're doing any herbalism and mining. WorthIt's very good because it also tells you where to go if you want past expansion stuff as well. It's got quite a good database of little farming routes that you can use. Well worth checking this one out. I don't use it too much because I'm not a big farmer, but it is very handy to quickly look if I need to go get something for some reason. TradeSkillMaster, I think at this point everybody on my watching a video on my channel is probably aware of TradeSkillMaster. TradeSkillMaster has not been in the best state in Dragonflight, although it is getting remarkably better. Every time there's a small little add-on, small little update to it, it is getting slightly better. It allows you to make groups. It allows you to quickly both craft and post things. Super helpful in Dragonflight for posting, for auction house side stuff. TSM is still an absolute godsend. Being able to open the auction house, click run post scan, and based upon all of the rules that I've set previously in the add-on, it will post a bunch of stuff. And many people who are long-term viewers of the channel will know that I often put out my groups and my operations for select members of the community. And you can see how very quickly it was to post a bunch of stuff, and we'll start to get the beeps coming through as things sell in the background. TradeSkillMaster is an awesome little add-on. I have a little mini-series on how to get TSM set up. It was recorded during Shadowlands. Obviously, we're in Dragonflight now. I might do a slightly upgraded version of that video before too long. That's mostly it for add-ons. The last one is Zygor. I won't talk about Zygor too much. It's because it's a paid add-on, and there's very much often two different camps of people who have opinions on Zygor. The reality is Zygor is very simply a suite of add-ons. It does a whole bunch of stuff. It is both initially designed to help you level up. It gives you waypoints. It tells you where to go get the quests. It does a whole bunch of stuff. But it also can give you a heads up and help you grind reputations, do your dungeons. It can do a bunch of things. It's a very good little add-on, but I won't talk about it too much because it is one of the only add-ons that you do actually have to pay for to get the full version of the add-on. There's a freebie version, but it only gives you a limited amount of stuff. That, ladies and gentlemen, is most of my add-ons. To talk very quickly, I would be remiss to not talk about the WeakAuras that are on my screen here. The WeakAuras I use to finish the video out today, I use only a few. Tama's Dragonflight Helper, I will leave links for all of these in the description. Tama's Dragonflight Helper is this one on the left-hand side here. It can also help you with tracking rares, but I don't really use it so much for that. The thing I really use it for is this tiny little to-do list at the top here. This is what I mostly use it for. It means when I log on to a character, I can quickly see, right, have I completed my Aiding the Accord quest for the week? Have I done my grand hunts on this character? Have I done the feast? Have I done the Siege of Dragonbane? Whatever the case may be. And it also gives you a bit of a heads up of things like your current renown levels without having to look through separate UIs. Kind of helpful. There's a primals module, which is this one here that is just tracking the storms. I'm a jewel crafter, and because I'm a jewel crafter, it's super important to me to kill as many of the rares in the storms as possible, because the elemental lariat recipe is both super valuable as a recipe, and I still don't have it, so I need it. But this little bonus module tracks the storm information. There's the weekly knowledge one, which normally shows up here. Unfortunately, I should be on another character to showcase this properly, because I've already done everything on the list this week on this toon. But this just gives you a little bit of a list of things that you might want to do to get as many knowledge points as possible for your profession. And once you've achieved it, it disappears off the list. And then obviously once reset happens, it'll pop back up again. And then there's this one at the bottom, which is the spawns of the rares. There's a bunch of rares that are on a 30-minute rotation. We mentioned earlier about how killing rares and killing as many of them, if you are interested in their loot, is super handy. This tells you, can be customized in a few ways as well, but tells you the next couple of rares that are going to appear, where they're going to appear, and so you can get there in plenty of time to make sure you get the tag on that rare. But that's the limited amount of WeakAuras I use. I don't use a lot of them. It's very quickly easy to have a whole list of WeakAuras, and I don't think that's overly sensible. Not to mention it's probably going to slow your game down if you're not running a monster of a PC. But I will leave links to these in the description, like I said. So that, boys and girls, is the majority. In fact, that is all of the add-ons that I use. I am aware that this has become quite a long video, so if there is any deep dive you want me to do on any specific add-on, like I said at the beginning of the video, leave a comment down below. But I will leave it there for today, boys and girls. Thank you all for joining. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Let me know which add-ons you use. Is there any major add-on that you absolutely love and that I haven't featured here? Not only do I want to share the add-ons I use, but I'm doubly interested in the add-ons that maybe I haven't come across yet and could be of benefit to me. So let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.